Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. On my birthday, I received an anonymous gift. A video. In the video, my husband, Alex Carter, had his arm around a girl and was smiling as he introduced her to the people around him. "Everyone meet Emma White, my girlfriend," he said. I paused the video, carefully examining the two of them. Alex was still wearing the suit I had picked out for him that morning, along with my favorite blue tie. The girl next to him was a stranger. She had the kind of charm that reminded people of their first love, pure and innocent. Her black hair flowed softly over her shoulders, and she wore a simple white dress. Her lips curved into a gentle smile as she stood quietly, like a blooming narcissus. She allowed herself to be held by him, her face shy yet calm as she accepted the blessings from the crowd. Such a stunning girl only made me sigh inwardly. Yet it wasn't just her. The Alex in the video felt unfamiliar to me. I had never intruded into his social circles. Over 7 years of marriage, we had treated each other with love and respect, maintaining an unspoken understanding. But now, this very understanding seemed to have given him the freedom to act so boldly. In the video, Alex's wedding ring was gone. Instead, a pair of bright red watermelon-shaped cufflinks adorned his sleeves, strikingly out of place against his dark suit. Perhaps it was intuition, but I was almost certain those cufflinks belonged to the girl. Their playful design was so unlike Alex's usual style, yet he wore them openly, as if they brought some vibrancy to his otherwise predictable life. He looked as though he'd gone back to his teenage years, his expression exuberant as he held the girl tightly, laughing indulgently. I could almost feel the secret joy radiating from him, a joy I found all too familiar. "Congratulations, Alex," I thought to myself bitterly. "My dear husband has fallen in love again. Babe, I'm home." The sound of the door startled me. Alex bent over at the entrance to change his shoes, placing a small cake on the cabinet nearby. As he loosened his tie, he smiled and said, "I had dinner with some company executives. Sorry for being late. I brought you a cake. Happy birthday, my love." He walked over, his face still relaxed, carrying a faint scent of alcohol and women's perfume. He handed me the cake with a smile, but I didn't take it. Instead, I locked my phone screen, hiding the video, and looked down at the cake. His watermelon cufflinks were gone, leaving his cuffs empty. I understood everything in an instant. I knew Alex too well. From the moment he stepped in and told me what was likely a well-rehearsed lie, I could see through him. No matter how much he liked that girl, in his heart, she would always remain his cherished but hidden lover. Someone he couldn't bring into the light to challenge the stability of his family. Those cufflinks confirmed it, and the thought made me feel sick. The once bold and passionate boy I fell in love with had grown into a man who was worldly, greedy, and cowardly. I didn't confront him. Instead, I shifted slightly. I was revealing the cake I had already placed on the table earlier. "I told you this morning I'd handle the cake and you bring the flowers," I said, smiling coldly. Alex froze, visibly stiffening. He had forgotten. I had already expected this. I knew he would try to gloss over it, downplay it, and deflect responsibility. "Sure enough," he said. "Work has been exhausting today. Don't be upset, okay? I'll buy you your favorite blue roses tomorrow." Predictable. I shook my head, utterly bored. He reached out to hold me, but I turned slightly. I no longer loved him, and I had no intention of trying to love him again. The end of this marriage had shown its signs long ago. I couldn't pinpoint when it started, but over time, Alex grew irritable and distracted when we were together. When he realized his behavior, he would deliberately overcompensate with compliments and praise, but it only made things feel more strained. Our interactions became increasingly unnatural. Incidents like today had happened countless times before, but back then I had been too understanding. I knew how hard adult life could be, and kept telling myself that there wasn't room for romance in the real world. I told myself not to trouble others, not to cling to the fantasy of love stories like a naive girl. So I buried my disappointments in a corner of my mind, letting them fade with time. I stopped asking for much, allowing life to flow quietly and uneventfully. But today, on my birthday, I decided to give him the simple chance to make me happy. He came home with a cake. Meanwhile, in the video, the girl held a bouquet of pink roses. "I'm sorry, babe. I'll make it up to you next time," Alex said, reaching out to hug me again. I raised a hand, stopping him. All these years I had been wrong. Being overly understanding didn't preserve a relationship. In fact, the one thing adults should never compromise on is their own happiness. There's no next time, Alex. He froze, looking at me bewildered. What do you mean by that? He asked hesitantly. A smile spread across my face, a sense of relief washing over me. All the doubts, the suspicions, and the negative emotions that had dragged me into despair over and over again suddenly felt distant. The insecurity that depended on someone else's validation had evaporated. For the first time, I felt whole and free. Alex, let's get a divorce. I heard a voice calling out my name from the past. Mia, I like you so much. I put down my toothbrush and ran to the balcony below. Alex stood in front of my dorm building, holding a large bouquet of blue roses. He was shouting my name at the top of his lungs, and students had gathered around, cheering and laughing. People leaned out from the windows, trying to catch a glimpse of the girl at the center of this romantic scene. It was mortifying. Alex Carter! I shouted angrily, dressed in my pink pajamas. Get down here right now. He stood there in a white shirt, bathed in sunlight, holding the bouquet. Both he and the roses seemed to glow. He waved his free hand high in the air. Grin wide and boyish, princess, come and claim your roses. I woke abruptly from the dream. The sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a peaceful warmth across my face. For a moment I felt calm, as though the events of yesterday had been part of a distant past. I got out of bed, shook my head to dispel the remnants of the dream, and made my way to the coffee machine, brewing myself a cup. This was the apartment my parents had bought for me before I got married. No one had lived here for a long time, but I moved back yesterday. Over the 7 years of our marriage, Alex and I had often discussed what to do with this place. He once suggested selling it, saying it was a waste to let it sit empty. Looking back now, I was grateful I had refused. This little sanctuary was mine, a place where I could finally feel safe. My phone buzzed incessantly with messages from Alex. Baby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have let you down on your birthday. I bought you a bouquet of blue roses. Look at this picture. Please forgive me. He still thought the issue was about the flowers. I stared at the photo he sent. A bouquet of vibrant blue roses fully bloomed. Blue roses, always blue roses. The sense of irony in my heart grew stronger. I replied, why don't we start by discussing what joint assets we have? Alex went silent for a long time before finally responding. Do you really have to be so heartless? Alex and I met when we were 22. We dated for 2 years before getting married. In the 7 years, we supported each other through what was not a particularly long stretch of time. He likely never thought he could lose me, but I had rehearsed countless times how to lose him. I made a list of all our joint assets and drafted a divorce agreement. After reviewing it, I sent the document to him. Take a look. If there are no issues, sign it and we can proceed with the divorce. I was grateful we didn't have children. At this point, it was merely a matter of dividing our assets, which was straightforward enough. But to my surprise, Alex refused. I won't get divorced, he said. I shook my head. Although I had considered this possibility, it still complicated things. I decided to be direct. A few days later, I arranged to meet Alex. He sat across from me, still impeccably dressed in his suit, but he no longer carried the vibrant confidence I'd seen in that video. His fingers trembled slightly as he held his coffee cup, looking uneasy. Seeing that he wouldn't start, I stirred my coffee and broke the silence. Alex, you're refusing the divorce, so what's your plan with Emma White? His face turned ashen in an instant. He clearly hadn't expected me to know about Emma. Flustered, he didn't know how to respond. I watched his expression and shook my head. I knew him too well. One sentence was enough to hit his sore spot and expose his guilt. The divorce agreement I drafted is fair for both of us, I said calmly. Think it over carefully. If we go to court, you'll be the one at fault. Hearing the word divorce seemed to jolt him out of his stupor. Panic flashed in his eyes as he began to stammer. Let me explain. Emma is just a coworker. She's been harassed by someone, and I was just helping her. There's nothing going on between us. I almost laughed out loud at the ridiculous excuse. I raised my hand to interrupt him. How old are you, Alex? He understood the implication of my words. His excuse was far too flimsy for adults. Clumsy lies like that solve nothing. Realizing this, his fingers tightened around the coffee cup and he said slowly, I won't have anything to do with her anymore. Can't we continue? I interrupted him again. Alex, do you know why I'm asking for a divorce? He froze, then hesitantly said, because of Emma. I shook my head. No, it's never been about anyone else. This is our marriage. The only people who can destroy it are the two of us. I want a divorce because I'm no longer myself, and you're no longer the person you used to be. He stammered. I don't understand. I picked up my bag and stood. You'll understand, Mr. Carter. Turning toward the screen partition, I called out, You come out now. Then I looked back at Alex, smiling faintly. The rest of this time belongs to you and Emma. 1 hour earlier, I looked at the girl in front of me, young, beautiful, and pure, exactly as she appeared in the video. I stared at her, feeling no waves of emotion. I didn't feel inferior because of her youth and innocence, nor did I feel anger over my husband's attachment to her. I simply pitied her, a girl in the prime of her life choosing to board a sinking ship. I picked up my coffee cup, skipping any pleasantries, and went straight to the point. You're Emma White, right? What do you want to discuss? Emma was dressed in the same white dress as before, her hair softly draped over her shoulders. She bit her lower lip for a long time before speaking. Alex hasn't been happy lately. Did something happen? What a clumsy opening. Even as a so-called green tea girl, she lacked the finesse to appear innocent and justified. It was almost laughable. You asked me to meet, so you must know I'm Alex Carter's wife, I said evenly. And you probably also know we're in the middle of a divorce. If you're aware of all this, why are you still trying to cover it up? Her face turned even paler, and her hands clenched as if she didn't know how to respond. I'm sorry, she said finally, her voice trembling. Honestly, I don't even know why I came to you. I didn't mean to flaunt anything, and I know I shouldn't have interfered in your marriage. I only found out later that he was married, but by then I was already in too deep. I couldn't save myself. I want to be with him. With just a little probing, her pretense crumbled. Her words were incoherent, lacking any logic. I felt no emotion, stirring my coffee idly as she continued. And then I prompted, noticing how my lack of anger seemed to make her feel emboldened. Her words came more smoothly now. She lowered her gaze and went on. That day I saw the divorce agreement on his desk, and well, I was secretly happy. It's selfish, but I hope he'd divorce you so we could be together openly. I was tired of feeling guilty and uneasy all the time. Over the next few days I kept waiting, but nothing happened. The more I hoped, the more disappointed I became. He's been so unhappy lately. He doesn't want the divorce. He seems completely caught up in his feelings for you. I raised my eyes to look at her, and Emma looked back at me, shaking her head. I don't know what I want. Before I came here, I thought I'd ask you to reconcile with him and I'd step aside. But just now I realize that you, the person in the middle of all this, are so clear-headed. Meanwhile, I, who should be on the outside, am completely lost and trapped in this mess. Her voice wavered. Miss Harder, this might be a selfish request, but can you help me make a decision? I arched an eyebrow. It was the first time I'd encountered such an absurd request from a third party. The world is full of surprises indeed. I let out a derisive laugh. No, you need to understand something. If, as you say, you didn't know about his marriage at first, then fine. But now, can you still claim to be innocent? You need to face the truth. Not only are you someone who has destroyed another person's family, but you're also an adult, young and inexperienced maybe, but still an adult. This isn't an excuse for making careless mistakes, or a justification for letting someone else dictate your life. The one who's truly made a mess of everything is you. I've been respectful and polite enough. What you choose to do next is your own business. I glanced at my watch and looked at Emma. 2 more minutes until Alex arrives. Her face instantly turned pale. I ignored her shocked expression and smiled, pointing toward the door. You can leave now if you want, I said, then gestured toward the partition. Or you can wait here for him. I didn't know what the two of them discussed after I left. Maybe this would drive them apart, or maybe they would confess their feelings and grow closer. Either way, it didn't matter to me. What they decided was irrelevant. I glanced at the voice recorder in my bag. After all, this meeting wasn't just about discussing the divorce. Pulling my thoughts back, I headed to my lawyer's office. Later, I returned to my workplace, organized the recording into a transcript, and started preparing for legal proceedings. Some matters shouldn't be delayed. Word has it that our dear attorney Sue is getting a divorce. Congratulations. A sharp, teasing voice broke the silence at the door. Frowning, I looked up to see Ethan Chan leaning lazily against the office door frame. His face lit with a smug grin. I ignored him and continued working. Retorting, Mr. Chan, I thought knocking was considered basic courtesy? Unbothered, Ethan walked in, popped into a chair, and crossed one leg over the other. Miss Sue, I thought our 20 years of knowing each other would exempt me from such trivial formalities. Saving my work, I closed my laptop and raised an eyebrow. If we've known each other for 20 years, shouldn't you know better then? I don't want to dig into my private life. How did you even hear about my divorce? Ethan shrugged nonchalantly. Private life, please. News of Alex Carter's infidelity and your impending divorce has been spreading like wildfire in the company. Everyone's talking about it. I heard he's even taken a week off on sick leave. Meanwhile, you've been clocking in and out like nothing happened. Impressive. Like wildfire, I repeated, my voice low. How had the company learned about this? Suddenly, Emma's words from earlier came to mind. That day, I saw the divorce agreement on his desk. Rubbing my temples, I sighed. Throughout our 7-year marriage, I'd always kept personal matters separate from work. Now, Alex seemed to have no qualms about airing it all out. Once the illusion broke, it shattered completely, leaving a gaping hole. Pushing the thought aside, I straightened the papers on my desk. Despite my emotional exhaustion over the past few weeks, I had kept my personal feelings out of work. Marriage was important to me, but I never treated it as my ultimate support system. Reality had proven that Alex could never be my pillar anyway. Alex Carter is as useless as ever, I muttered under my breath. Ethan burst into laughter, amused by my remark. After a moment, he seemed to remember something and said, "Oh right, Attorney Sue. The Ching Group and Song Corporation are collaborating on a big project. Could you come over and give our legal team some guidance? Your consultant contract hasn't expired yet." Glancing at the time, I realized I had a bit of room in my schedule. Picking up my bag, I nodded. Let's go now. Ethan was practically a childhood friend. We'd known each other since competing in academic contests in middle school, and stayed in touch all the way through high school graduation. Throughout our school years, Ethan Chan and I were academic rivals yet supportive friends. After high school, he went abroad to study and prepared to inherit his family's business, while I stayed in the country to pursue my dreams at the top-ranked university. A few years ago, after earning his master's degree, he returned and successfully expanded his family business, which is now Chan Enterprises. Meanwhile, I became their legal consultant, leading to an unexpected professional partnership between us. Interestingly, Alex Carter works at Chan Enterprises as well, but I have always kept my work and personal life separate. Just as the Chun team doesn't know about my relationship with Alex, I have never discussed Alex's work with Ethan. We each relied on our own merits to advance in the company. Ethan tilted his head to look out the window. Suddenly, he asked absent-mindedly, "Are you really going through with a divorce? Is it because of that? What's her name?" "Emma." I glanced at him, surprised. Ethan rarely pried into my personal life, yet this was the second time today he had brought it up. Smiling, I replied lightly, "Mr. Chun, please mind your own business." He clicked his tongue in annoyance, turned his head away, and didn't press further. I let it drop, returning my focus to the materials in my hands when the car pulled up to the Chun Enterprises building. An unexpected sight greeted me. Alex Carter, looking disheveled and far from his usual composed self. His beard was unkempt, and he seemed utterly drained. Beside him, Emma White clung to his arm, looking up at him and speaking softly. Before I could say a word, Ethan noticed them too. His face darkened, and he muttered a curse under his breath. Turning to the driver, he said coldly, "Why are random nobodies loitering at the entrance of Chan Enterprises?" The driver, perceptive as always, honked twice. The security guards immediately stepped in, politely escorting Alex and Emma to the side to clear the way for incoming vehicles. Once we got out, the relevant project team members were already waiting for us at the door with the necessary documents. They quickly handed over the materials to Ethan and me, and we were ushered into the conference room with a small crowd in tow. As we walked, I faintly heard someone calling my name from a distance. Attorney Sue will coordinate with the legal team about this section later, one of the project leads said, efficiently summarizing the key points and flagging areas of concern. I redirected my attention back to the project, tapping on the documents in my hands. Focus on this part during the discussion, I said. After leaving the conference room, I saw Alex again on the side of the road. He looked even worse up close. His dark circles were so pronounced they seemed ready to fall off his face. He blocked my path, holding a piece of paper tightly in his hand, his eyes red and brimming with emotion. "Do you really have to be so heartless?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Aside from Emma, I don't think I've done anything wrong in our marriage. Why are you insisting on this divorce? Can't you just forgive me? I'll change, I promise. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it." I glanced at his clenched hand and understood immediately it was the court summons. No wonder he was suddenly here pleading for reconciliation. I gave him a faint smile. "Why do you say aside from Emma? Alex, do you really think there's nothing else you've done wrong? That's just what you think. In the end, we're still husband and wife. Why don't you think about how we can divorce with some dignity?" Alex seemed deeply shaken, his voice trembling. "Do you really want a divorce?" Something appeared to cross his mind, and his expression suddenly became strange. "Did you fall for someone else? Last time at Chun Enterprises I saw you with Ethan Chun. I called your name but you ignored me." I interrupted him. "Alex, do you even hear yourself? Do you think everyone is as pathetic as you? Do you think just because you've sunk so low, others must follow? Wait." He seemed to realize his mistake, reaching out to grab my hand, but his effort fell short. His mouth opened slightly, his voice hoarse. "I'm sorry, don't leave me." Without even looking back, I stepped aside and walked away. The morning sunlight poured into the room, but the tranquility of the early hours was disturbed by a commotion outside. Still in my pajamas, I got out of bed and opened the curtains. Below, the ground was covered with blue roses arranged in a massive heart shape. Residents walking their dogs, taking a morning stroll, had stopped to gawk, curious about the romantic spectacle. Alex stood beside the roses in a white shirt that gleamed in the sunlight. When he saw me open the curtains, his face lit up with a wide smile. Waving enthusiastically, he shouted, "Mia, I like you. I love you." I immediately pulled the curtain shut. What an appetite-ruining display so early in the morning. Did he still think he was the naive and harmless 20-year-old boy he once was? Picking up my phone, I dialed the property management office. "There's someone disturbing the peace in the neighborhood. Please handle it promptly." The response was immediate. "Understood, Mom. We'll send someone to check right away." Hanging up, I felt refreshed. Justice prevailed and peace returned. Moments later, my phone buzzed with a new message. Sliding it open, I read the text and couldn't help but smirk. It was a double blessing. On the day of the court hearing, Alex arrived wearing the suit I had once chosen for him, my favorite one. He had even put on his wedding ring, which he hadn't worn in years. During pre-trial mediation, he spoke candidly, declaring that he didn't want a divorce. He turned to look at me, his gaze unwavering. "There is no fundamental breakdown in our relationship. This case won't go through unless I agree to the divorce, and I don't. Mia, you taught me this. I still love you. Please come back." His confidence almost made me laugh. "Did I ever teach you?" I asked. "I'm not someone who fights a battle she isn't prepared to win." The judge, sensing the tension, quickly intervened and pulled me aside. Sighing, he said, "Attorney Sue, you heard him. He's refusing the divorce. This is your first divorce petition." I nodded. I understood the implications perfectly. For a first divorce petition, if one party refuses to divorce and there's no concrete evidence of a broken marriage, the court will generally rule against the divorce. It's difficult to achieve a successful ruling on the first attempt. The judge continued, "Alex Carter is right. Perhaps you two can reconcile during mediation. If not, this mediation record can serve as evidence of marital breakdown for a second divorce petition." How could I not know that? Without definitive evidence of a broken marriage, agreeing to mediation could indeed streamline the process for a future case. But I shook my head. I insist on proceeding with the divorce, I replied firmly. The judge nodded in understanding. All right then, let's begin the trial. Alex, being the clever man, he chose not to hire a lawyer to oppose me in court. Instead, he had someone draft a meticulously detailed response that was airtight in its arguments. Every word painted a poignant picture of our 9 years together. 2 years of love followed by 7 years of marriage filled with countless touching moments. His statement argued against the divorce using emotional appeals to sway the court. It also outlined in meticulous detail how assets should be divided if the divorce were to proceed. It was as cautious and calculated as it could be. As a lawyer, I knew these tactics all too well. I'd encountered countless cases like this, and now these very strategies were being used against me. I listened to him recite his statement with deliberate emotion, but beneath the surface of his words, I could see the calculations, the careful maneuvering hidden in every line. For a moment I wanted to laugh. I had thought that after 7 years of marriage, our relationship had simply grown too familiar. But now I realized it wasn't familiarity, it was exhaustion. 7 years had drained every bit of love we once had. When it came time to present evidence, Alex saw the video of him holding Emma White close, smiling confidently as he introduced her to the crowd. Everyone meet Emma White, my girlfriend. The room was filled with the sounds of the video. Cheers, whistles, and congratulatory words. Alex's face turned pale as he watched, unable to speak for what felt like an eternity. When the recording of my conversation with Emma was played, his fingers tightened, turning white from the pressure. He stared at me, his gaze sharp and accusing, as if asking why I had recorded it. It wasn't until the judge prompted him to respond that he finally spoke, his voice trembling. I was just joking. There's nothing between us. It was all one-sided on her part. I had anticipated this excuse. Alex had always been a poor liar. He fumbled through the legal text at his side, his hand shaking as he read out sections of civil law. He stammered repeatedly, emphasizing that our situation didn't meet the legal standard for marital breakdown. Over and over, he argued that I had no evidence to prove an actual relationship between him and Emma. At that point, I couldn't hold back my laughter anymore. I wanted to leave you with some dignity, I said. But clearly that's no longer necessary. I turned to the judge and handed over a report. Your Honor, I request to submit one final piece of evidence. A paternity test. On the day Alex arranged the heart of blue roses beneath my apartment, I had received a message from Emma. It included a photo, a sonogram, and a note. You helped me. Now it's my turn to help you. I stared at the message, my gaze dark and unfocused. Alex stood abruptly, clutching the paternity test report. This can't be true, he exclaimed. The judge banged the gavel. Defendant, please maintain order in the courtroom. I looked at Alex, giving him a faint smile. If you disagree, you're welcome to request a court-appointed lawyer. Agency to reconduct a paternity test. He met my eyes but couldn't muster a word. Knowing me as well as he did, he understood that I never joked about such matters. Slowly, the color drained from his face, leaving him silent. When we left the courtroom, I turned to him. Mr. Carter, do you understand now what I meant? He stared at me blankly, as though wanting to say something but no words came. He simply shook his head, dumbfounded. This was our marriage, I continued. The only people capable of destroying it were the two of us. I wanted a divorce because I am no longer the person I used to be, and neither are you. The fact that I didn't pursue charges of bigamy, and only filed for divorce was the last shred of dignity I left for you. Let's end this on good terms. Alex finally agreed to the divorce. I refused his request for mediation and insisted on a court ruling. Not long after, the court issued its judgment approving the divorce. Our assets were divided fairly, and everything was settled. On the day I received the court's decision, I also received a bouquet of daisies. Attached was a card with the words, "A fresh start." I looked at the handwritten message, the elegant script adorning the daisies. A sense of joy washed over me. At this point in my life, I no longer cared for flashy roses. The simplicity of daisies felt like a safe harbor. Placing the flowers aside, I opened my phone and sent a handshake emoji to someone. After some thought, I added a message, "Thank you, goodbye." Then I blocked the number. After the divorce, I shifted my entire focus to work. My career began to thrive, and during the busiest times, I practically lived at the law firm. Ethan Chun often dropped by after hours, setting up his laptop on the desk beside mine to work overtime. Some of our friends joked, asking if I was planning to become the next Mrs. Chun. I ignored their teasing. After the long and draining marriage, I just wanted peace and time to reflect. I still held a deep passion and love for the future. I wasn't afraid of opening myself up to affection or even beginning a new relationship, but all of that would come after I fully rediscovered myself. During this time of reflection and hard work, I realized I had completely shed the version of me who had been so consumed by love, clinging to insecurity while numbing herself with rationalizations. Looking back at my marriage from an observer's perspective, it was clear that what I lost wasn't love. It was the ability to truly love myself. When a person places too much hope and expectation on someone else, they end up tying part of themselves to that person. They give away not only their happiness but also their ability to love themselves. The divorce felt like breaking free of shackles, releasing me to live fully in the present and bid farewell to my past life for good. Have you heard your ex-husband got fired? During an afternoon tea gathering, a friend casually mentioned Alex Carter. I shook my head, feeling as though his name had become distant and irrelevant. After the divorce, noticing my confusion, my friend sighed dramatically. Apparently, he had some inappropriate dealings with the competitor, and the management at Chun Enterprises found out. I paused, my hand met air. What's this about? Ethan never mentioned anything. I pulled out my phone to call Ethan for clarification, but after a moment of thought, I put it down. If he hadn't told me, there must be a reason. My friend, eager to spill more tea, leaned in. Oh, and did you hear about him getting dumped? Seeing the puzzlement on my face, she launched into the gossip with enthusiasm. So, after your divorce, he proposed to that girl. What's her name again? Emma, right? But not only did she reject him, she also terminated the pregnancy. She didn't say a single word, just up and left. Your ex-husband completely lost it. He even accused you two of scheming together to set him up. He was out of his mind for a while, and that's when the whole inappropriate dealings thing happened. It's like he's got a screw loose. Who even has time to keep plotting against him every day? I nearly choked on my coffee. Putting down the cup, I coughed a few times, trying to process the whirlwind of drama. Internally, my feelings were complicated. It hadn't even been that long since the divorce, and Alex's life was already so colorful. Reflecting on the past few months, I realized I had been so absorbed in work, pulling all-nighters and burying myself in projects, that I'd lost track of the outside world. Ethan had been showing up at the firm after hours almost every day to work late alongside me, but he hadn't mentioned any of this chaos. Thanks to this period of focus and introspection, I'd avoided being bogged down by anything unpleasant. My work was flourishing and my mind was calm and content. Wiping my mouth, I looked down at my coffee cup and sighed inwardly. And Emma White? I didn't see her again until 5 years later. I had been invited to give a lecture to students at a university. After the talk, I exchanged pleasantries with a professor from the law school. As we walked out of the lecture hall, a figure appeared just outside. The professor warmly pulled us together for an introduction. Attorney Sue, let me introduce you. This is Emma White, a doctoral student from the economics department. Emma, haven't you always said how much you admire Attorney Sue? Why aren't you saying anything now that you've met her? I looked at her. Her demeanor was nothing like before. She had shed the purity and naivety of her campus days, replacing it with a maturity shaped by experience. Her long flowing hair was now a neat, practical bob. The elegant white dresses she once wore were now casual cotton and linen outfits. She was no longer the timid little rabbit kept in a cage, but a rising star on her own. Hello, Attorney Sue, she said, meeting my gaze. Her eyes were bright yet tinged with complexity. I've always wanted to apologize to you in person. I raised a hand to stop her mid-sentence. There's no need to get into it during a first meeting. I prefer living in the moment. The professor looked puzzled, not understanding the subtext between us, but both Emma and I knew exactly what was left unsaid. Still, I had no desire to revisit that meaningless past. Now I cared only about each golden moment in the present. After learning about Alex's infidelity, did I feel hatred? Of course, I hated him, both him and the person who destroyed my family. Those dark emotions grew like creeping vines, filling my heart and making it impossible to eat or sleep. The boiling anger and resentment once drove me to thoughts of revenge. I wanted everyone involved to face ruin and disgrace. Then one afternoon I read a line in a book. For my own sake, I must forgive you. A person cannot keep nurturing a venomous snake in their heart, nor can they endlessly plant thorns in the garden of their soul. The words hit me like a bell tolling in my mind, leaving me momentarily blank. From that point on, I returned to myself. It wasn't about forgiveness. It was about no longer pouring my energy into others. Instead, I focused on work, admiring flowers, and taking walks. My life began to flourish again. After my first conversation with Emma White, I became even more certain of this approach. Here was a girl consumed by fantasies of love, yet lacking any real intelligence. She posed no threat to me. In fact, she was her own worst enemy. So chaotic, she couldn't even play the role of a proper antagonist. I brought her and Alex Carter together to confront the situation directly. It wasn't just for her benefit, but also for mine. I believed that after that encounter, she would finally realize what she truly wanted. My efforts paid off in unexpected ways. Before the final court hearing, I received a message from Emma, a photo of her ultrasound report. She agreed to cooperate with all necessary examinations, and even offered to support any further paternity tests requested by the court. Whatever her motivations were for helping me, whether out of remorse, a desire for closure, or something else, I welcomed her cooperation. With her help, I secured solid evidence and finalized the divorce. Afterward, I sent her a message. Thank you, goodbye. Then I blocked her. That was the extent of the relationship between a wife and a third party. I hadn't anticipated what came next. After our divorce, Emma terminated her pregnancy and broke up with Alex. Whether it was due to a genuine breakdown in their relationship or her initial intent to help me secure my divorce, I never found out. It didn't matter. Everything was in the past now. As I looked at the Emma White standing before me, her eyes brimming with tears, she seemed far removed from the girl I once knew. Upon hearing my words, she broke down completely, crouching to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Her choked apologies and scattered words of gratitude were carried off by the wind. I heard her say, "I'm sorry. Thank you for giving me a second chance at life." In the years that followed, Ethan Chan remained a constant presence in my life. He never pressured me but instead quietly found his way into my routine, becoming a part of it little by little. I often teased him. "Doesn't your mom ever nag you to get married?" He would always grin smugly and reply, "Chen Enterprises is doing so well these days, she's too happy to care about anything else." I'd roll my eyes and say nothing more. One evening, he was in my office typing away on his laptop. The warm light from the desk lamp illuminated his side profile, his straight nose, sharp features, and the gold-rimmed glasses perched on his face. He looked poised, focused, and gentle. I rested my chin on my hand, staring absent-mindedly at him. Noticing my gaze, he stopped typing and turned to look at me. Suddenly, he broke into a wide grin. "What's this? Did you just realize how handsome I am?" The spell was broken and I sighed. The familiar shameless Ethan was back. The corners of my mouth twitched, and I looked away, letting out a dry laugh. Suddenly, I remembered the chubby little boy from our childhood, the one who used to clench his teeth and cry loudly every time he couldn't beat me in a test. Hearing me recall his embarrassing past, Ethan didn't seem the least bit flustered. He closed his laptop, moved closer, and sat beside me with a smug expression. "What were you just thinking about?" he asked. "Turns out you were thinking about me." The same sentence somehow sounded completely different coming out of his mouth. I waved him off. "Stay away from me." Ethan laughed even harder. "You can't even look at me now, you're so shy." "I'm so proud of you." I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "Let me be blunt, you're starting to get annoying, like one of those over-the-top shows from cheesy romance novels, oozing with arrogance and, shall we say, the essence of green onion oil?" Before I could finish, he flicked my forehead. "You've got quite the imagination," he said with a grin. I rested my head on my hand, staring off in a daze. Suddenly, a thought occurred to me and I turned to ask him, "I've never really wanted to get married. Isn't spending so much time with me a waste for you?" He crossed his arms and leaned back in his chair, raising an eyebrow. And you call yourself a lawyer? Can't you calculate the benefits here? You not wanting to get married is an advantage for me, isn't it? Why would I give up a big company like Chen Enterprises? You really think I'd let you split it? I laughed. Don't flatter yourself. I have no interest in your company, Chen. Ethan chuckled too, his eyes crinkling with amusement, filled with a soft starlight. I just want to stay by your side. If you want to get married, we'll get married. If you don't, we won't. None of it matters. All I care about is being with you. Just don't make me feel like an irrelevant outsider. His last words were barely audible, almost a whisper. I wasn't sure if I'd heard him correctly. What was that last part? I asked. He leaned closer, whispering by my ear. The moonlight is beautiful tonight. I glanced out the window. The moonlight really was beautiful tonight. As I stared out at the beautiful moonlight spilling across the city skyline, a calm settled over me. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. Not because my life had fallen perfectly into place, but because I had finally found myself within it. Ethan sat beside me, silent now, his presence warm and steady. I realized that through all my trials, I had come to understand that life wasn't about finding someone to complete you. It was about becoming whole on your own. And when you did, the people who truly valued you would be the ones who chose to stand by your side, not out of obligation but out of love. I turned to him and smiled softly. Ethan, you've been by my side for so long. Haven't you ever grown tired of me? He met my gaze, his eyes steady, a hint of amusement playing on his lips. Not once. You're worth every moment. I didn't know what the future held, but for the first time I didn't feel rushed to figure it out. There was no perfect path to walk or ideal destination to reach. All I needed to do was take each day as it came, savoring the golden moments of the present. I leaned back in my chair, letting out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Above us, the stars twinkled faintly, scattered across the velvety night sky. Yes, I murmured, more to myself than to anyone else. The moonlight really is beautiful tonight. And as Ethan's quiet laughter joined the stillness of the evening, I knew whatever tomorrow brought, I was ready.